Hi, we're trading the ES on a 2000 tick chart with a 21 EMA. So I started the day out with overnight highs here and overnight lows here, and I started looking at the chart around 7. So this is where I started. But before that, there was two legs down, and then that's what formed the overnight highs and lows. And then we tried to reach the overnight highs again, but we didn't reach it. So there's a slight imbalance, but not too much to where you can't buy because it did almost get up there. So then we had a downtrend break, two legs to a new low. I was looking to buy here, but there is really nothing to buy here. No good setups here, no good signal bars, no entries. We get a breakout, and most breakouts fail, and we get this huge bullish signal bar closing out of this short-term trend line on a breakout after a downtrend played out. So I thought that was a perfect place to buy. If you take that, I got in on the tick. That's 12 points. That is 3 points. Or 12 ticks, so that's 3 points. Um, and then right here, there's this higher low. And I didn't add on. I could have added on. I kind of wish I did, but I'm only saying that because in hindsight it worked. I never like to add on because in case I did read it wrong, I don't want to have a double loss. And usually there's not very many trades you add on to anyway, so it's really not a big deal. But if you took this higher low, I think that's good too. Um, if you got in with a limit order, it would have been okay to push a little bit into the EMA. Um, but I do think that's a good trade. It's a higher low after a perfect fade entry to go long. So if you took that, I think that's a pretty good trade. So we go into this uptrend. We have a break, and then after this uptrend break, we're expecting a new high. We get it here, two legs up, and then we get a correction to the EMA, and the EMA holds. So that's a good sign. We're probably going to make it to the other side of the range. And we do, we get this massive channel up. There's no opportunities to buy in here. There's no pullbacks or anything. And we finally get to the highs. So we have a slight breakout. Most breakouts fail. There's no good entry. Bad signal bar. You can't enter on this bar afterward. This uptrend is still in play. We get a break, new high, uptrend played out. Here, there's no entries to go short. There's a short-term trend line working through. You can even draw it like that. There's, or off of this one, there's really no entries to go short here. But then, after this breakout, we get a first entry long, second entry long, failure. I did not take this trade. And just to be clear, the green arrows are trades that I took, and the blue arrows are trades that I think are good. So yeah, green arrows are longs that I took, red arrows are shorts that I took, and blue arrows are trades that I think are good that I did not take. So anyway, first entry long, second entry long, failure. It did close above the EMA, but I really do like the failed second entry after the breakout. That is very high probability. You would have needed to use a limit order. I was thinking about using a limit order, but I did ultimately get scared out of it when it closed above. Um, Made a really quick one-to-one scalp, and then we get this correction to the EMA. It does break above, but we do push lower. There's no setups to go short here. This uptrend is working higher. It's still in play. It has a break. It never makes a even attempt at a new extreme, and we just plummet lower. And so coming off these highs, we have a first leg down, second leg down. So that's two legs down to the lows of the range. And I am, of course, looking for a trade to go long here. So I did not want to take this first one just because it's right after a huge move down. If you draw a short-term channel, you can clearly see it's blocking. There is a slight overshoot, but that's not enough for me to want to take this just because there's an overshoot. I felt like that was too risky, just with that huge move down and all. But then we get a higher low, and that's the better entry anyway. And so this higher low right here, it does have some stem, but it did close in the upper third, and it's a higher low bouncing. It's a double test of the already proven range lows, and I really did think this was good. I decided to ride it to the EMA. I had to get out right at the EMA for 14 ticks, so it's 3.5 points. This was a really good trade, I think. And so we just keep going higher. After that, we push through the EMA, and then we get a break. And when an uptrend gets a break, you expect a new high. And so I don't think you can go long here. It is a breakout of this range. Most breakouts fail, expecting a new high, good signal bar, but you have this short-term downtrend working lower, and I don't think that this move higher is strong enough to, counter this downtrend because we are still in a range. So I really don't like that trade. It did work. It worked really well though. And we push higher, and now we have first leg up, break, second leg up. So that's a second entry on a larger time frame, larger time frame. And then here is my next trade. I scratched the trade for break even. And it's a good thing I did because I barely didn't get my target filled. It tapped my target, and then I would have been stopped out. So I bought here, and my mistakes were that it was after a two-legged move up, so it's basically at the end of the move where we're expecting it to possibly reverse. You could argue that it's off the highs if these are slightly lower, but I am going to keep them here for now. So I don't really think that's a good place to buy because of the two legs up, and it's not a perfect signal bar. Now, also, it's a breakout pullback of this range, but breakout pullbacks are really momentum trades, and you would want a trend to be in play while you take them, and there is no trend in play. The uptrend played out with a break and a new high, and we're just in a range overall. So it's not good for a breakout pullback. Really, the only setup here was a second entry long with a bad signal bar, and after two legs up, so I don't think that this was a good trade to take. I should have been looking to go short because since we had these two legs up and a breakout of this range, I could have looked for this lower high to fade back into the range. So I think this probably would have been good. It is into the EMA, but once again, we are in a range, and the EMA just does not matter as much in a range. Of course, it is better to try to avoid the EMA, but there are times when it's fine. Almost always in a range, you don't want to enter into the EMA. Like sometimes, here's the thing: the EMA, you really just have to get experience to know. Like I enter into the EMA all the time, but there's also many times where I don't want to enter because of the EMA. Like for instance here, I did not. I wanted to get out before the EMA, and I did, and that's because at this point we are kind of trending, and so it is harder to it's harder to just switch gears and start wanting to go into the EMA because here we're chopping around, we're going through the EMA, so it's just better to only do that in chop, only go through the EMA and chop basically. But so here we fade the range. I did not take this, but it goes out the other side, and now we're kind of just chopping through the middle here. And there wasn't much else I saw that I thought was good at this day. I'll draw the structures though. And so this downtrend, we're trying to get down to the lows. We don't make it. We have a couple attempts to make it to the lows now. Then we get a reversal pattern. First entry short, second entry short, failure. There's no good setup. Everything closes below the EMA until the bar that finally does make the failure. And you definitely can't enter on it. It's way too big. And you didn't come off of anything. You just came off of, you bounced early here. So here, go into this uptrend. We overshoot, get a break. Couple attempts at a new high. We make a new high. There's no setup to go short. And you don't want to take this to go short either because you are still expecting a new high, and it's just not. It's right after a huge bullish bar, and you're still expecting a new high, so you don't really want to go short yet. So then we make a new high, we rush through the EMA, so now we can look for a reversal pattern, rush through, first entry long, second entry long, failure. So here's a reversal pattern. It's a huge bar, it's very choppy, the EMA is flat, there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bars stacked up right there on the entry bar, and there's really nothing that you can take here. And it forms a micro range right here. We get a breakout of the lows, it fails, breakout of the highs, it fails, no setups either way. Then we finally get this breakout pullback, no setups, it's basically just like a second range underneath it. So no setups to go short here, and then we just have a huge push down. You'd be looking to buy off these lows again. It just pushes straight through them, pulls back, way too far away from the EMA, nothing you can take. So then downtrend, break. We are expecting a new low, or attempts for a new low. This uptrend played out, break, new high, as well as it's a breakout of this congestion right here. But of course there's no setups, these are way too big of bars. Breakout, pullback, and yeah, we're still just chopping around, and that's basically the end of it. Um, so that's it for the day. That's just what I saw. I hope this helped, and thanks for watching.